Today is Bell Let's Talk Day. So for anyone who doesn't live in Canada, it's a day that was founded by a company called Bell Media, which is a telecommunications company. I sound like I'm giving their like bio
I
on.
know you're like founded by this person, Thomas Bell, Thomas Jefferson Bell.
Is that actually it?
I
Thomas
added, no, I don't know. I made it up. I obviously didn't make up Thomas Jefferson.
Bell.
I added Bell.
Do you remember when I wanted to go to Five Guys, but I kept
Yes.
saying the full name. I kept being like, "Let's go to Five Guys, burgers and fries, address."
Yes, I do remember that. But no, this is essentially that's exactly what you sounded like now. You're like Bell Media, founded in 1954.
Anyways, going back to my speech. So, Bell Let's Talk Day is a day where it's basically a day that's dedicated to raising awareness and breaking the stigma to mental health. It's a great initiative because it raises a lot of money, but there, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this day and Bell Media, founded by Thomas Jefferson Bell, as a whole.
Yeah, no, I do because so like the idea of like the Let's Talk is that for every time you use the hashtag, they're gonna donate 10 cents or whatever. And so the more you do it, the more money gets raised for it. But like in terms of actually Bell Media, like they're not a great company to work for. I obviously personally haven't worked for them, but um there have been a lot of employees that have come out, especially in light of Bell Let's Talk, being like, it's just become like a PR publicity stunt. Bell Let's Talk is obviously great in that it does sort of socialize the idea of talking about mental health, which I think, from where we were even just a couple of years ago, we've come a long way in general. But I think the pandemic has sort of like sped that up because everyone's mental health took such a toll. And it was kind of like not really something that was ignorable anymore. But I think that, it's great because the whole initiative, Bell Let's Talk, is it allows you to like get the conversation going and kind of like you said, like break the stigma. But it's hard because on one hand, while it is doing that, um on the other hand, it's Bell is like not a great place to work. There's so many people that have come out and have talked about their really bad experiences working at Bell Media, how they've like tried to talk to their employers, their managers, whoever, about their like the company not taking care of their employees' mental health. And I think they've like been sued. And just in general, like Bell is actually the phone company that provides phone service to prisons. And they charge exorbitant rates for prison inmates. And it's like a vicious cycle because like the people that are incarcerated more often, the populations that are incarcerated the most often are like racialized communities, and so who are already at a disadvantage. And so then when they're in prison and their mental health is already struggling or is already kind of at a disadvantage, there's Bell who is charging all these rates and not providing adequate connection, which is really what the whole idea of breaking the stigma is about, is connection, from breaking the stigma of mental health. So it's hard because, it gets people talking,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's become such a publicity and PR thing. And you said something interesting earlier too. You were like, people post it and then they just move on.
Yeah, we were talking about our episode today. Originally, we had plans to do another topic, and then this was part of our natural conversation. And I was saying how Bell Let's Talk Day is really a day, and then the day after, it's like it sort of came and went, and people kind of go about their lives. But the whole concept about mental health is that it's always at the forefront of the conversation, and I feel like especially now. Or especially just like the challenges with 2020 and the continuation of that. It's been really hard for everyone, and mental health should be, it should be a topic that's more normalized than it unfortunately currently is. It's tough. I feel like it's like a double-edged sword. It's kind of like when we talk about separating art from the artist in a way. That's how I see it. It's like, what do you do when you have a problematic artist, but they create art that's so beautiful and speaks to a lot of people? Are you able to separate the two, or do you kind of look at them as one? So in this instance, it's like Bell Let's Talk Day. Can you separate that from Bell Media and still keep the focus on mental health? Or is it that they are taking advantage of this day? And like you said, it's a publicity stunt. And that's really the conversation that we also should be having.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like the idea of like separating the art from the artist, or however we want to do it for this instance in particular, is a really interesting point because, yeah, like how kind of do you consolidate the fact that like the person who's doing this is the thing that's being done is good, like talking about mental health and kind of sharing Bell Let's Talk, or people, it has empowered people, especially on social media, to like talk about their story and to talk about um like whatever that they might, whatever it is that they might be struggling with. And if somebody is maybe reluctant to talk about it, the fact that it's so widespread will maybe coax them to talk about it, and like which is obviously healthier than other coping mechanisms that they might be doing. But I think that as consumers, and I mean, we talk about this so often, I literally think we forget how much power we have. And that this instance, or like the fact that Bell Let's Talk Today exists, is an ode to how much power we have. Like, people are constantly talking about the importance, consumers are constantly talking about mental health and finding is to that, all of that is what spurred Bell Let's Talk, right? Like it's that need for people wanting to talk about it and do something about it, where anyone might have even, like an enterprising person might have even realized that there is an opportunity to like commodify that, or like capitalize on that. um but I think you can participate in it but still hold Bell accountable, or any institution for that matter accountable. um and you can talk about it and post about it, but I guess the change really comes like, you're going to post Bell Let's Talk, but what's the action you're doing?
Hmm.
And I also kind of feel like Bell Let's Talk, like at this point, has become so widespread. It's just a thing people do. They just like reshare the story, reshare the post on their story, and they're like, okay, I did my job now. But it's like, are you actually talking to the people in your life that are struggling with mental health? Are you, if it's something that's very important to you, are you like doing something in your community about it? Like, I think that's where change really happens. So while Bell Let's Talk is a great initiative, we still hold that power to make changes in a more meaningful way and to still hold Bell accountable.
What you were just saying about, people just feeling like they can share it and move on from the conversation reminds me so much when we were talking in the summer about the Black Lives Matter movement and all of the social media activism that sort of like rose afterwards. And I think it's just this idea of like people, it's such a fast thing for people to do, and it's literally like the minimum that people can do, so they feel like if I do this, then I wipe my hands clean of any other work, and I've sort of done my job. And there's so much more to it, and I find there is a lot of pressure on this day to repost the Bell Let's Talk video or the Bell Let's Talk campaign, because for every view, or any sort of engagement, they donate on your behalf. So you obviously want to contribute. But then thinking back to them and as a company, that obviously drives engagement for them. And that obviously drives
Exactly.
more customers to them and a bigger audience. And so it really is a double edged sword. I feel like, I don't know, I think of like myself and like something that I can do is, if you're going to repost the video, then I would donate on my behalf to another organization or even the same organization that Bell contributes to. So it's almost like you're doubling your amount.
Yeah, which I think is amazing. If you want to support, not you literally, Nadine, if you generally, whoever wants to support with money in their own and like are able to do so in their own capacity, then that's amazing. But no, like this whole thing about people just posting, it's very performative. It's like people perform their activism where they're like, well, I posted, I'm part of the talk, like I'm part of this, I'm here, and then it just kind of disappears. But I actually think you can support people's mental health that I think people don't necessarily realize or aren't aware of the small ways that or the small things that kind of add up to supporting, or I don't want to say destroying someone's mental health because that's like so intense, but like um that like just ways that things that you can do to like support somebody's mental health. And like if you don't want to, if you aren't in a position to donate, then that's totally fine. But I think change really begins, this sounds stupid, but with like literally how you just are towards the people around you. And obviously that's not to be like, oh, always be nice. Like, yeah, okay, like that's great, be nice. But I think small things, which I'm really finding, especially in like your work environment, I think obviously with your family and maybe people who are closer to you, you take more liberties
Mhm.
with how you communicate and like the emotions that you show and whatnot. But and obviously like there are changes to be made there too. But even small things, I think a lot of people have a lot of anxiety from work. Whether that is not having a job, working from home, still going into the office in this like time. And one of the things that I think you could really do to support someone's mental health is like the way that you show up to work every day. And whether that's like how you communicate with like your peers, but how you communicate with people you supervise or your manager. And it's I try very hard to do at work because it also in turn supports your mental health, you know?
I know a lot of criticism as well with this day and also just corporations talking about mental health is the lip
Exactly.
service.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and how they sort like corporations slash capitalism as a whole perpetuates the decline of people's mental health and how
Yeah.
there's not enough adequate support from that level to their employees' well-being. And so for this like massive corporation, this like telecommunication to be preaching the good word of mental health, it's almost it's almost hypocritical in a way because to your point, they are the ones that are pushing people in ways that they should not be. And that's in particular to their mental health.
No, exactly. I think that's exactly what it is. And I think like I'm always wary of when large corporations like jump on something because I'm like, at the end of the day, you're a corporation and you're a capitalist corporation and you're obviously trying to get some gain out of it. And so, what is like, it's never totally altruistic. Like, it's never like from the goodness of their heart, they've like decided to do this. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's like very, like, you just get suspicious. You're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Um, So yeah, I literally, I totally get that. But I think another thing too with Bell Let's Talk specifically is that I kind of feel like if people, it's great because obviously it like spreads the idea that everybody is talking about mental health, and so you kind of get, you know, you incite somebody to talk about mental health, whether if they might not have. But at the same time, like if somebody is so averse to what the idea of what mental health is or what it means, they're not going to share it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's where change happens. Am I cutting in and out again?
No, you're good. You're good.
Am I cutting in and out again?
No, you're good. Am I cutting? Am I frozen?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know who should be contributing to mental health services?
Who?
Funny enough, actually, I was gonna say Kojiko, but your Wi-Fi is Bell. Is it not?
There you go, you piece
Uh,
of garbage, Belle.
Bell, let's talk about how
I
awful
hate you.
our Wi-Fi is. Okay, let's really
Yeah,
like
how you're not letting me communicate.
let's talk about what's what is like really.
Let's talk about my mental health that is being impacted because your Wi-Fi is garbage. And I know that you get a call from my family twice a week being like,
What?
Belle, let's talk. Let's talk. No, I want to talk. I want to talk to your manager because I want them to know that this internet is garbage. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. So
We're
it's
back.
fine. I'm
We're
fine.
back. We're back.
I'm back. Anyways, what I was saying before my stupid internet, first of all, I'm on data. Like, I'm on data. I'm not even using the goddamn internet. It's fine. It's fine. Fine. I'm letting it go.
I'm with
Moving on.
Rogers. I'm with Rogers for my phone plan. So not even Bell, but I'm with Rogers and they are profiting so much. They're profiting more. Like I don't think they are profiting more off of someone working from home than me because I have to
Yeah.
switch to my data so often. Like they were like, "Oh, you know, people are working from home, like it's whatever. Like they're not using their data. They're mostly connected to their Wi-Fi." This bitch, I don't even want to tell you what my phone bill is at right now. Like I am
You know what you need to do is get unlimited data.
Rogers, let's talk.
Roger. We're actually going to start a new campaign. And it's not going to be about mental health, despite how important that is. It's going to be about Wi-Fi service and how that is detrimental. The lack of it is detrimental to my mental health because I literally am trying to have a conversation and I can't.
Oh
So let's talk about it.
let's talk.
Anyways, what I was saying before is that while that Let's Talk is great because it like it obviously is like a widespread movement and it like has it's so many people join into it. um I realized I'm like holding my mic like this, but it is what it is.
It is what
So YOLO. um
I just want to quickly
Anyways,
add that this is obviously post hours of having to like enter and re-enter Zoom meetings and trying to get this freaking connection to work. Tarini's holding up her mic right now like she's giving a monologue at like a one-person show. And we are a part of this book club. And she joined the first meeting late because she's just such a busy bee. Anyways, she came on, she was on mute. We couldn't figure out why. And her only solution was to plug in her podcast mic.
it wasn't working
It
otherwise.
was so funny. I took a screenshot. I have
Really? Why? I like logged on and I was like, I'm ready to talk about this book, everybody. And like literally someone called me out on it. They were like, you literally came, you like you were like in charge and like everybody just like you just like took control of this book club and I
I'm
truly
here.
didn't mean to. Like I was just here to talk about a book.
Let's talk
I
about
look like a professor because I'm like yeah, like I was like with my glasses, like with my mic, I'm like let's go. Like that's literally me.
anyways. Please say what you want to say. I keep cutting you off.
No, it's totally fine. All I'm trying to say is that I think real change happens when people who otherwise wouldn't have addressed mental health issues like address mental health issues or talk about mental health issues. And like I don't know if Bell Let's Talk necessarily does that. And I hope that obviously it empowers people to talk to other people in their family or whoever to have those conversations. But I think it's just, I think at this point, maybe when it started, it was more impactful, or maybe it is now, but I do feel like at this point it has become a little gimmicky. And yeah, like you just, it's always a little suspicious when big corporations start doing things like this. You're always like, I don't know about what's going on over here, because it's just, it's like a marketing ploy. It's like, it's
Yeah.
kind of like how we've talked about in the past where people have like marketed feminism, and
Mhm.
like all of a sudden it became this trendy thing. It's like kind of the same thing with, and we talked about how they did it with self-care. And like just like so many things, like self-care practices, like we've talked about it so often, because truly capitalism never sleeps, and they will market off of everything potentially ever possible. That's my monologue. Thank you for coming to my show. It's called I Hate the Internet, but I also love it when I can connect at Bell. So it's actually insane, because when you Google Bell Let's Talk, it's everything online is all about the initiative. It's like they literally like have bought the like SEO space. Like I don't even know if that makes sense, but like the first like 10 hits are all articles about like Bell Let's Talk is so great. Like Bell Let's Talk explained like how much money they're raising, blah, 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 all about the initiative. And then when you actually start to dig deeper, is when so many people have done opinion pieces about why it's like so bad, for like a lack of a better word. Um, and there's like so many reasons. So one of them is like kind of what we talked about already, which is like jails in Ontario, and how if they truly cared about mental health, then they would be providing phone lines in jails with better, like they would be providing better phone lines in jails to provide better service to inmates.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like there's a lot of criticisms of it as well, and I think they're all very similar to the ones we talk about, but it's just not, it's not the like narrative that's been constructed about Bell Let's Talk.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because capitalism doesn't sleep, but also capitalism supports capitalism. And Instagram is
Yep. Wow, love that line.
the the way that Instagram drives engagement. This is exactly what it is. So many people are resharing and reposting and reviewing and commenting and using the hashtag, that the algorithm just throws it up to the like first spot. And all these articles, as a result that you're reading of people's criticisms, end up getting thrown to the last. And you do need to dig a little deeper in order to find them. But I feel like that's
I have no idea what you said. I don't know what you just said.
all in all, just a message to Bell. If you could please spend less time on your PR campaign and more time investing in actual mental health resources and initiatives and in our Wi-Fi, that would be great. That would be much appreciated. Tarini froze.
Honestly,